Hi everyone, thank you so much for being here. As you know, we're here for Skin Stories. It's also the 5th anniversary of 47 Skin, which is great. It's also a great day to launch an SPF. Bloody roasting out there. I'm going to begin by explaining a little bit about Skin Stories. Firstly, we all have skin, and I think that if everyone thinks about it, they can imagine a time where they have had some kind of struggle or they've known someone that has had a struggle. But I think it's something that we don't really talk about. So today is a fantastic way of sharing these stories from different people, often people who aren't having their story and their struggle around their skin told. First of all, we're going to speak to Nic, who is the founder of 47 Skin and the reason we're here today. So let's get into that. Hello Nic, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Could you tell me about your skin journey and kind of how we have all ended up here today?
Yeah, so I suffer really badly with spots and blemishes. So I think it started around the age of sort of 12, 13. So at school, everyone else has got spots and blemishes, so it's not a problem. So you kind of go through those years, and actually I wasn't the worst, so actually it wasn't a problem at all then. Come into university and it stuck around. And that felt worse and worse. So people had been on like Roaccutane at school and these antibiotics and stuff. So that kind of dropped off a bit. And then going into university, I just remember being deeply insecure. So missing lectures. I remember occasionally missing nights out, thinking, I want to go out, but I can't because my skin's just covered in spots. So then it really started to sort of take its toll on me. And sometimes it didn't look so bad. And if you look back on photos, I wouldn't let a bad photo get taken. So actually you wouldn't see many of them. But so it started to impact me, and it started to impact my life because I was missing stuff. And only later in life do you realise how kind of criminal that is. But so that happened. And then it was only really when I kind of got to my first grad job. So you're starting a new company. Everyone's a lot older than you. Everyone's more experienced than you. And you're already insecure going in thinking, you're just fresh out of university, you don't know what you're doing. And it continued to kind of be a problem. So I'd have really bad facial acne, bad acne on my back. I remember not being able to wear a white shirt because people would see the red patches behind me. And I also remember one day just going in and just sitting with my face like that because the side of my face was covered in spots. So it became a problem. And it was at its worst when I went into a meeting with a buyer. So it was my first meeting with a buyer for a big supermarket chain in the UK, and walked in and she said, "Oh, I can see they've sent their baby to do their bidding." I remember exactly who it was. I remember her name and everything, and I remember thinking, "God, that really shot me down." Just as you're going into a sort of negotiation, and I thought, right, I need to fix this because it's now impacting my career, which is something that I always thought I'd take very seriously. So I set about trying to sort of fix my spots and blemishes, acne. And that was, so you start where you would normally start. So you start by going to a pharmacy or something and using sort of creams like that. That didn't work. So I thought I'll go expensive. So I'd go to expensive stores. Go into expensive stores and found it not only incredibly intimidating, because you go in and it's full of beautiful people on the wall, full of beautiful people serving you, and you're there covered in spots, and you're trying to decipher what is an incredibly complicated sort of category. Went in, would talk to somebody, they'd recommend 5 or 6 products. They'd be hundreds of pounds, which I didn't have, but somehow you buy them, would come away with the products, and actually all they would ever do is make your skin much, much worse. So tried products. So then the next thing you've seen around is clinics. So you go to like these skincare clinics, and I signed up for a 5-course sort of laser treatment. All that did was burn my face. So on the second go, I remember it literally felt like it was sizzling. And the lady went, well, men have low pain thresholds. So I was thinking, oh, maybe it's that. It wasn't. It burned all my skin off. And then there's a passport photo of me the next day where it just looks like I've got in a fight with the carpet or something. So right, not going back to that. So I've wasted hundreds of pounds on products. I've wasted hundreds of pounds on the clinic stuff. And then I go, okay, so you go to the NHS, you go to a dermatologist, and they recommend a topical cream, which didn't work, and then they'll put you on antibiotics. Got onto antibiotics, it dried out my skin horrendously, so I'm still at work, still with the same kind of problems, just a different set of problems. And then I remember watching TV one day, and it was something about quite a dark topic, and I could really relate to it in a weird sense. And I realised there and then my head had completely, the chemicals weren't right, and I just thought, right, well, I'm sort of quite down, and I thought it's not worth this, so I'd rather have spots and be slightly insecure than suffer with mental health. So left it. And I was sat at work one day, and out of the blue, a pot of cream came through the post, and it was from my grandma in a kind of little brown envelope, and it had with it a little handwritten note that said, it's a local formulation, Nick, apparently it's amazing for spots and blemishes, or acne, I think she's what she said. So immediately it's like, I wasn't thinking about it with spots, but now I am, cheers grandma. And you sort of put it to one side, and I thought, well, that won't work because nothing does, right? So I'll put it to one side, took it home, was going on a business trip to Spain a couple of weeks later. I thought I'll use it up, take it, grandma's obviously spent money on this thing, I'll take it with me and use it as an after sun. Took it with me, used it as an after sun, and literally 4 days, and my spots, blemishes, acne completely gone, which was confusing, and I didn't know if it's down to the sun or down to the cream or what it was, but it never returned. And when I came back, I went into a pub in Fulham. A girl that I'd known for 20 years pulled me to one side and said, "My God, Nick, what have you done to your face? You look amazing." So then I set about trying to find out, who was behind the product after using it continuously for a while, thinking it would be, I was working for a big conglomerate at the time, and I thought it would be another big conglomerate who owned it, and I was just interested. And it wasn't. So I thought it was somebody in the US, then I thought it was somebody in the UK. Turns out it was a scientist up north who had been testing for water treatment. So he'd been trying to clean large volumes of water. He'd mixed two things together, Silver and Chitoderm, mix the two together, and then you filter through the water. Silver's naturally antibacterial, and Chitoderm is sticky. So the theory was that would sort of clean through the water. It was too expensive to do that on a large scale. But what they did notice was when they tested it and when they were using it and stuff, he had problems with his hands, and that kind of healed. And over time, they decided to test it in different areas. They tested it in skincare. They made a handful of bottles, one of which made it to my grandma, which in turn made it to me. So we partnered, and 47 Skin came to be. So that's the backstory, and that was 6, 7 years ago now.
Wow, yeah, that's an unbelievable journey. I was really taken when I first heard that, with the idea of receiving this pot, having gone through all of these different options. I think you said you kind of given up maybe, and then how did it feel when you realised that you were onto something here, or this person had found something that actually works?
It's hard to describe how it feels like. Everyone faces challenges, and everybody in this room will be insecure or worried about something different. And so you worry about this one thing and you think there's no kind of solution. And the way that it is for a person at the moment, there isn't a solution. You go 5 or 6 different places, but then when you find the thing that actually solves it, well, to start with, I didn't know if it was just for me or for everyone else, right? So I was able to use it, but then giving it to other people to test, we found the results were the same. So it's not as clear cut as like a eureka. Mm-hmm. It just feels very frustrating that there is a solution to a problem that lots of people are worried about. It's causing all sorts of issues, untold issues, and there is something that can solve it, but people aren't aware of it. So then the job became, right, link the two, let people know that it's there.
And what kind of response, feedback have you had from customers? I mean, this has been quite life-changing for you. I imagine that's replicated everywhere. People who are struggling, suddenly their skin is markedly improved. Yeah,
so we are very tight-knit, everyone that works across the business, and we take real, solace. It keeps you going when you read all the reviews and stuff, and we've got thousands and thousands of reviews, and they are not just like, oh yeah, this is good. Like they go into detail, they've transformed lives, and it goes, when you're a teenager suffering from acne, I guess I always thought that it was just teenagers that suffer from acne and that people grow out of it. And the reality is, since starting this business, you realise that it affects people of all ages. So even the other day I was just reading the reviews of the Serum, and it was, one of them was, my 14-year-old son was really suffering with acne. It's worded a lot better than I'm about to say, but was really suffering with acne, and this has completely transformed his confidence in his life. So that, for me, is like, well, if it weren't for my grandma, that 14-year-old boy would have suffered till 27, whatever, and he would have gone through the same journey. So she's cut that journey short on that one individual and countless others. The next review down was a lady who's 70, still suffering with spots and blemishes. She's like, I can't believe, that this has finally worked for my skin. And then the next one is, a lady in her 50s. And so it affects people of all age groups and for loads of, various different reasons. So that's the most amazing thing about it. So yeah. Yeah.
I have a question also about the different things that you were trying beforehand. Is there anything even like you came up with? So I ask this because my granddad seems to have a potion for everything, and some of them are just so weird. I get them in the post for like back pain or something, he'll like cook up cloves with mustard oil in a Coke can on the gas stove. Then he puts it in a bottle. It arrives to me. The envelope is soaked with this stuff. Like now I'm thinking maybe I should be trying it and it could be helping somebody. But do you have examples of other things you'd used?
Yeah, no. So yes and no. Yes, in the sense that there's loads of different things that if you suffer from something, you spend all your time on Google, right? So you kind of toothpaste on spots and blemishes. I mean, there's all sort of cucumber. It goes on turmeric. I mean, the more you read, the more there are solutions. So I've tried all that stuff. None of it worked for me. It may work for others. It didn't work for me. But then, yeah, you find your own kind of solutions, and some of them aren't healthy. So the best, you know, if you're on holiday, you know, go and sit in the sun, but then you burn your skin. So there are many different things that you try. I didn't try potions and stuff like that. I just used what I found on Google. But not only did not anything work, I don't have to stress enough that like moisturizers and things, even the best brands in the world, would just inflame the skin and make it worse. So if I've got a spot and I go and buy an expensive cream, not will it just not work, it will make it turn into this huge red, angry thing. So you don't use anything. So then your skin gets dehydrated in itself and things like that. So, but yeah, I've tried pretty much every Google recommended solution there is, and none of it worked for me.
Do you think that the skincare, like surely these brands must realize that they're not helping people, and in some cases they might be making things worse? Like, I don't want to be like creating some conspiracy here, or maybe this has already been thought of by everybody else, but creating a situation where someone is just someone's desperate, they're going to continually buy that thing. I think we touched on this a little bit, like it might make one element go away, but then something else is going to happen, then you need to buy more of that stuff. How do you feel about that?
So my take on it is that, got to kind of, I suppose, say that everyone's skin is different. So it may be that some of these solutions that haven't worked for me have worked for others. I imagine they probably wouldn't be on the shelf if they didn't work for somebody. But broadly speaking, my experience is replicated in most of the customers that we talk to. So caveat, but also I mean what I'm about to say. I think it's an industry that is, to start with, the skincare industry has really strong margins. That's, you go and look at anybody's accounts, not accounts, but the big publications that these big businesses do, they make very strong margins. So it's in their interest when they're in that position to continually bring out new things with new ingredients and things like that to keep keep that momentum. And for me, none of that stuff ever worked. And the problem that I've got with the industry and the way that it operates at the moment is you're already feeling insecure. So it's something that you're really worried about. You go into a store, you trust these guys because everyone's heard of them. They've got huge marketing budgets, of beautiful people who probably haven't suffered with it. And even if they have, that I think they're highly kind of edited images and things like that. And you're kind of on the back front. If you don't have a degree in skincare or chemistry, then it's really, really hard to decipher what's going on. They recommend all these different things with different ingredients. And the issue that I have with it is, if you say that you've got a solution to something in general and it doesn't work, then you should return the money to the person that's bought it from you. So if you get to a restaurant and you order a chicken burger and it comes and it's raw, you wouldn't pay for the chicken burger. But in the way that it works in the skincare industry is you go in, you are giving them that very, very high margin. When you come back and say it works, they'll just recommend you a different product. And I think that's wrong. I think that's really, really wrong. Yeah, that's what we're challenging and changing with 47 Skin. So our offer is really, really simple. We have a unique ingredient, Silver Chitoderm. No one else in the world has that ingredient. We think it transformed my skin. It's transformed hundreds of thousands of others, and we think it will really work for the individual. But if it doesn't, we'll give you your money back. It's as simple as that, because we're not in the business of trying to, somebody who's already down, we don't want to exploit that.
Wow, that's great. That's, yeah, very exciting. And yeah, I guess maybe we've gone over this a little bit, but I'm just, how did it feel to like grow this business and to realize that you've not just been able to help yourself by this pursuit, but like you'll continue to help more and more people? Like, how does that make you feel? That's
the single driving factor, because let me tell you, starting a business, it's very, very hard, and you have to have something driving you beyond you know, your own self-interest, because you just simply pack it up. It's incredibly hard. So when I started the company, I thought, well, we've got this solution to acne. This will be the easiest thing in the world to tell people about. You just go, hey, it works, and nobody buys it. So then you go, right, okay, so we've got to figure out how to, and you're up against an industry with huge budgets where everyone's saying the same stuff that you are, but they don't really mean it, but we do. So that's really hard to get it, to kind of get that message across. But that's the thing, you know, running it, as I say, running a business is a very, very hard, long slog. And yeah, the thing that drives us all is helping people. And it genuinely does help people, and that's what matters.
What would you say to the younger version of yourself who's still struggling with this, or to people out there who are struggling right now with their skin?
Well, I suppose the challenge is for my younger self, there wasn't a solution then, because it only kind of came about. The timings and the coincidences, or sort of serendipity or whatever, are bonkers on this story. So there wasn't a solution then. There was a solution when I kind of got to that age. Anyone that is suffering now, I would say, you know, it will work. I personally guarantee that it'll work for you. And if it doesn't, then we give you your money back, and we're terribly sorry. You know, it will work for the large majority of people. And that's down to the science behind how it works. So silver is naturally antibacterial. A lot of what causes acne, spots and blemishes, bacteria getting into your pores, and it can be driven by different, you know, at different times in your life, different hormone balances and stuff can change the way that your skin operates, and the bacteria gets in, and that's your challenge. So the skin itself will naturally regenerate, and you need to know that from cutting yourself or whatever. It's the most incredible thing. So what happens by sort of merging these two things together? Silver is, as I say, antibacterial. So once you apply it onto your skin, it's like an antibacterial shield. The Chitoderm is mucoadhesive, and what that means is it's sticky. So it will, any bacteria that comes onto your face, it will stick onto it and it will kill it. But it has a double benefit in the sense that because Chitoderm has like a lattice-like structure, so like that, it means that your cells can naturally regenerate. So it protects your skin, and it lets your skin do its natural job of rebuilding, which is why the benefits aren't just acne, spots and blemishes. They are also rosacea, you know, eczema, any kind of skin concern that you can think of. This will help with that for that very reason.
Interesting. Well, that really speaks to me, because when I was thinking about questions and stuff and having a think about my own experience with skin, my immediate thought was like, well, I actually didn't have acne as a young person, so it didn't really affect me. And then I was like, what am I talking about? I was born with severe eczema. I was born 7.5 weeks early, which I think has some connection to it. Perhaps my skin wasn't totally ready. And I was covered in eczema until I was about 16, 17. And I think that, so I grew out of it, which was great. And I kind of blocked out like that experience because it was actually not very pleasant, painful, but also you were saying, you know, how someone made a comment at work and that really, that's stuck with you. And I was just drawn back into some experiences that I had, and people saying, you know, have you not heard of moisturizer? And I would think, all I'm thinking about is moisturizer. Like, of course I've heard of moisturizer. And so, yeah, I think this whole event is really important because people have all of these different things that they're dealing with. But it's really cool that this product can kind of work on all of them, or on many of them. And I suppose, are you investigating like further uses for it? Yeah.
So just actually one bit that I've forgotten, that just reminded me within saying that, yeah, the most frustrating thing about having spots and blemishes is when somebody says to you stuff like, have you tried not eating chocolate? Have you tried not eating dairy? Have you tried washing your face is one that you get. It's like, oh, I've tried that. So that's really, really frustrating. In terms of new products, yeah, we're continually testing new things. And actually, it's a really humbling experience because I haven't had spots, blemishes, acne for, well, when I was 24, 25 when I tried the product, and not had it since. But I still get the odd spot now, and that's because every single product that we launch, I test personally first. So, and they're not all winners. So we test some stuff, and it doesn't react as well with the skin, because whilst it's got the Silver Chitoderm in it, we test different things, and you know, the sunscreen took us the SPF took us a long time to get right, and getting the odd spot or blemish because it's got something in it that doesn't agree with your skin is a sort of fantastic experience in the sense that it puts you back to how because it's easy to forget, and you have these things you move on and you're like, oh, wasn't that bad, and it is. And whilst it could literally be the tiniest little blemish, but for you that's that's a big thing. So yeah, we're continually working on stuff. And I make sure I'm the last person for it to come to, but I'll test it for about a month before we sign it off to make sure. And anything that remotely doesn't react or whatever obviously doesn't get launched, gets totally binned. So yeah, that's the check.
Okay, well, interesting insight into the process there. You're actually testing the stuff. And my last kind of question is a bit about when you do get a spot or something like that, or a flare up, let's say. Is a part of you wondering, am I going to return to? I mean, I guess you have confidence in the product. During COVID, I got some eczema on, like, weirdly on my one little finger here and then one little finger here, and then it did start to spread on my hand a bit. And at that point, I did find myself thinking, is this the return of? But luckily, I think that could have been triggered by stress. Over time, that went away. So yeah, I'm just wondering, does it cross your mind? You're like, oh.
No, because there's a big, so when you, so if, I don't know if I was going to get, don't know, it might be wrong, but if I was going to spear margarine on my face or something every day, then it would cause a sort of reaction with my skin. So no, because I'm supremely confident in the products. And whoever I talk to, whatever problem they've got, and I'm more than happy to for them to just take it, because you're so confident in how it works. So, and if I do any sort of reaction to any product that we try, or and actually, so anything that I just switch back to the product. Well, not that I don't use them anyway, but we use the the serum, and it will just go almost straight away. So no, not worried about that at all. But in order to be pushing the boundaries of products, we need to continually be testing new areas. Moisturiser was a big one that took us ages to get right, because moisturisers are inherently nourishing, and it can easily clog your pores. So that took us a while, but no, never, not once have I been worried about that because of thanks to the serum. But the serum is so good that I was once going on a ski trip and forgotten it, and turned around and missed the flight to get the bottle. So I wouldn't go without that. That's the reason I'm confident.
Great, well, thank you so much for sharing and being so open. We are going to move on to our next talk. We have Natasha and Cami.